Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Fake Nerd Book Club. I'm Brandon T. McClure. It's my pick this week, so I'm introducing. But with me, as always, is my good friend Ben Magnet.
Hello there.
Sparks Witty.
Always here. Never miss.
And Ryan Eliopoulos. Whoops!
Spooky, scary skeletons popping on and off.
I, as I said up top, it is my pick for the Fake Nerd Book Club. I picked Marvel Zombies versus the Army of Darkness, written by John Layman, with art by Fabiano Neves, Fernando Blanco, and Sean Phillips. Colors by June Chung, and letters by Randy Gentile and Russ Wooton. So this was a crossover between Dynamite and Marvel Comics, which sees Ash Williams from the Army of Darkness universe, from the Evil Dead universe, come to the Marvel Zombies universe. And I remember liking this book quite a lot when I first read it many, many years ago. I've talked about this before, but I used to borrow Sparks's Ultimate Comics books for a while, and I would read them. And because of that, I would also read like Squadron Supreme and Marvel Zombies, because they were kind of tangentially related to the Ultimate Universe. And this one was really exciting because, like, I really like Evil Dead. I really like Marvel Zombies. Sure, why not? But I'll just get my thoughts right out of the way before we get into you guys. Reading it now, didn't like it as much. What did you guys think, though?
I'll go first. I thought it was totally fine. Like, I didn't hate reading it, but like, I'll first say the positive thing. Like, I love Marvel Zombies. I really like the interpretation of they keep their personalities, whether even if they're good or bad, but they're just really hungry. Like, I really like that aspect of it. So I like that they keep bringing back the Marvel Zombies, because that is an idea I really like. It's the only time Marvel really is allowed to be gross and weird. Outside of like mystical horror stuff, which they do, but not as often, in the big books. So like having a book like this exist makes me really happy, because like it means that like Marvel's are willing to have Spider-Man get its brains eaten out, right? I'm very into that idea. This is a weird crossover. It's just weird because the Evil Dead franchise is, like, in a fun way, like Ash is misogynistic and like and the type of character he is, and like bring it into this world. It clicked for me like 75% of the time, but there'd be sometimes he'd be hanging out with Dazzler and he'd do his shtick, and I'm like, I don't know if I don't know if I like that. But that's just what Ash Williams is, right? So like it's I guess it's fine, quote unquote, it's fine that he's that way. I liked it. I liked it the more I read it. Like once we got to the Doctor Doom stuff and it was the Army of Darkness versus Zombies. I think that idea is cool. I like that idea that it's not just, oh, the Necronomicon's here, zombies are here. I like that at least they tried to do something original with it. But besides that, it's fine. The characters are all right. His Doctor Doom's a little lacking for me as someone who's read just like a decade of Doctor Doom like straight. He's good. I'm like lukewarm. Like I like it. Like I'm more positive than not, but like I didn't love it. It was a nice Halloween read.
Sure. Sparks, you look like you want to say something next.
Yeah, I think I have to like contextualize this just a little bit for myself, which is when this came out, you had the like a tee up for the Marvel Zombie stuff that happened in Ultimate Universe, as you alluded to. And then you get the initial Marvel Zombies run, the classic Marvel Zombies. And that was it. That's all that came out at the time before this one. Marvel Zombies 2, Dead Days, all that kind of stuff that came later.
Yeah.
So it was really, I remember it being really exciting at the time that, oh, okay, this really cool thing, we're going to do this with it. And like, you didn't have like the things not that all the Marvel Zombie stuff that came after were bad, but like they milk it quite a bit to the point where like you're not really getting anything out of that stone anymore.
Sure.
But this was a period of time where like I remember being really, really excited about it. And the further context of that is that I read this and then I went on to read, I don't know, I think I'm literally missing 2 volumes in like the last 2 volumes of whatever they did. But I've read all the Dynamite Army of Darkness comics. And I think the symptom, and I enjoyed a lot of those. There's a lot of problems with some of them, but like there's also a lot of enjoyment in a lot of them. I think really the problem of the book is just purely Ash in comics, and just like who he is as a character then doesn't work today
because it's not Bruce Campbell.
Well, I think even more than that is that he can't evolve.
No,
he's stuck being the Army of Darkness version of Ash, and he's not allowed to be anything else. And I remember actually like thinking this was part of my fear about Ash versus the Evil Dead when the Stars show was going to come out, because I'm like, Ash isn't allowed to grow.
Yeah.
And if he's not allowed to grow, there's nothing interesting to do in a television show above everything else. But obviously the show is good because the show breaks that mold and lets Ash grow. But everything else that ever came out after Army of Darkness is very much like Ash has to stay stagnant. No matter what happens on the journey, by the end, he has to be the same guy.
Yeah.
He has to go back to, because it's not structured as a serialized comic. It's structured as a series of events. While it will pick up from where the last thing left off, literally the next Dynamite Army of Darkness thing that happened picks up from that werewolf world. They really don't show it because they don't have the Marvel stuff any more linked. You just know he's in the werewolf world. And then he quickly gets out of there and into the next story. But that's a lot of what it is he's constantly just going from thing to thing to thing. We've talked about Freddy versus Jason versus Ash a million years ago, but like that's also in that line where it's just like they think of an event, commonly of a crossover character or just a story every once in a while, just a story that they're like, oh, this would be fun, but it's like a tiny little thing. And Ash always has to reset to zero.
Yeah.
Because they don't expect anybody to be reading it in any kind of order. And I think that's more the problem of what happens in this comic, because that's the rule of Dynamite Comics Ash, is Ash can't grow. And therefore he can't develop anything beyond being a satirical characterization of who he is in Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
And like there's fun to that, but there's also drawbacks. And like part of that is that he approaches every situation more or less exactly the same. And I think the thing that they miss, and this is kind of a comment, it's specifically notable here, and we'll talk about it, but like, I think this is true of all the Dynamite comics. It's because of that, Ash comes off as apathetic to the lives of other people.
Yes.
And I think that's the big problem.
Absolutely.
Is that the movie Army of Darkness doesn't do that to Ash. It's not that he doesn't care about people. It's that it's the way that he pushes things aside and he just focuses on the people who are still alive. And there's a very different, like he can accept that someone's been lost and there are still other people to save. And that's a really different perspective from Who's Here, which is like an Ash who really doesn't care that all of these people are dying.
He doesn't feel like a hero.
But he acts like one, and that's part of the problem. And that is a consistent Dynamite Comics Ash problem, is that he just has no empathy unless it's someone who he slept with who that he then develops a connection with, which is like happened twice in the comics, and then he does care about that one person, but that's it.
Now Ben still famously never seen any of the Evil Dead films.
That's right.
You've seen 2, sorry.
And Rise.
And Rise.
I was gonna mention Rise because we did review that. So what did you think about this one, Ben?
Didn't like it as much, to be perfectly mostly my main problem with this book stems from Ash, because as I was reading this, now I've never seen Army of Darkness, so I don't know what Army of Darkness Ash is like. I just didn't vibe with it. I didn't really click with him. There are moments like when he sees Dazzler and he says impressive, and he checks her out and goes very impressive. It's like, that's gross. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I know this. I don't know when this book came out, but now that
it's early because Captain Marvel is still Miss Marvel.
Right.
It's 2007.
Yeah, and I mean, what I do like about the book, because there are parts about this book I do enjoy, is the fact that they keep like the traditional Marvel zombies that even though they get bit, when they get bit, they still retain their personalities. They're not just mindless monsters. And I liked how they kept that through line, and especially with Enchantress, of how she essentially, this is going towards the end of the book, but how she tricks him and how she's already a zombie. And and Ash is looking at her like, oh, she's totally fine. She's just locked up because she's a really powerful she's a really powerful sorceress. Turns out she was just tricking him, and she's like, sweet, I'm gonna get out of here soon enough. And some of the character deaths in this book were like, oh, that sucks, but at the same time I was like, no, don't, why did you die? But also it's like, oh shit, really? That's how they kill that person off? That's
I think one of the things that really goes to what Ben is getting at and what Sparks was talking about Ash's characterization in this is when Ashley G. Williams shows up in the story and he dies by Howard the Duck, and it's played out, and Ash doesn't give a shit. He's just like, it just doesn't even register on his mind that another version of himself has just been killed. And it struck me as really weird because like I get that it's played off as like shock value and then as a joke, to be like, oh, Ash is dead. How is he going to survive the next issue? Oh, it wasn't Ash. It was the Ash from the Marvel Zombies universe. And you're like, okay, well, that's kind of cute. That's funny. But like, there's no point to it. It does nothing for the narrative. It does nothing for Ash as a character. It does nothing for. It seems to do something to Scarlet Witch, but then we quickly move on from that. It's such a weird moment, and that kind of personifies like the book. The problem that I have with this book, ultimately, which I think Sparks put really well, which is Ash as a character, because this isn't Ash. I've seen everything. This isn't Ash.
It's like
the heightened version of what people think he is.
It's the comic, reduced down version that he's been. I think there's I want to say like 4, maybe 5 events he's gone through, of like, consider all 5 issue runs, prior to this in his canon, because this is very canon in the line again of his story, but that doesn't matter because they're not serializing any growth, but the amount of things that have happened to him.
Yeah.
So to Ben's point, like without having seen Army of Darkness, the important part to know, Ben, is that when he gets there, and this isn't me spoiling anything about the movie because you will watch it, but it's that at that point, Ash has lost so much, and been thrust into a situation that's just absolutely bonkers, to the degree where he's just kind of like, holy shit, the only way I can get through this is by being funny. The only way I can get through this is by not taking it as seriously. And I'm just gonna.
It's an isekai. Army of Darkness is an isekai.
And he's exhausted. And he's got this chip on his shoulder about this chosen one prophecy that he's had to carry, and he just keeps getting the raw end of the deal. Even when he wins, and this is true every single time in the comics as it is here, even when he wins the day, he loses. Like every single time. And so that really drags on him. And so in Army of Darkness, that's there. But again, that doesn't mean he doesn't care about the people who are around him. Mm-hmm. And you brought up, Brandon, like the Ashley G. Williams dying thing. But to me, the thing that I think really cements like Ash is just not this uncaring about the lives of others is when he actually abandons the Punisher. He's literally holding a bag of weapons. Like that's not Ash. Like Ash at this point in time still thinks these are Deadites, and would fight them.
Yeah,
like there's no reason he would just take off and leave a person, regardless of like who that person is, to die to the Deadites. Like that is fundamentally why Ash is, despite his attitude and his unconventionalness, a hero. And that's not who this character in the comic is.
There's no point because yes, he's gone through so much, right? Now he's in a world, probably the craziest world he's ever been in, where, like half the people have superpowers.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So like, he's still like, I never felt him be frightened, or like when he's dealing with Doctor Doom or anything, like even with like the Enchantress, like that's like a scary moment, but like I don't ever feel like he feels like he's actually like in danger, or like he feels like it's like anything's actually ever important. Like
he's treating this whole thing, as Sparks said, that these are Deadites, and he's dealt with Deadites before, and so they're kind of ho-hum to him. So, and that's fine. Like he doesn't know what a zombie is; he knows what a Deadite is. So he's like, "Well, these are Deadites. I'm going to fight Deadites." But there's never a moment, especially when he starts to realize that they're not Deadites, that he's scared, and it's kind of strange because even when he had a shotgun and a chainsaw, he can't fight these things. He's wildly outgunned in this world, and you never get the sense that he even gives a shit.
At the end of issue 5, when like when the entire world's been overrun and Latveria is left, and every single hero is on that final panel to come destroy them, Ash doesn't not scary whatsoever. He's like, all right, cool. I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? That's 1,000 superheroes.
And I think it's like, it's unfortunate because like there are 2 times that he gives a shit that someone's in peril or dying. And it's Dazzler and Scarlet Witch. And the implication is just because he wanted to bang them.
Yes.
And like because it is put through that lens, it sucks.
Yeah.
When like, again, no major spoilers, Ben, but there is a male figure that Ash cares a lot about, who he fights alongside and grow, like they start not really liking each other, and he cares about him and he fights to protect his life in Army of Darkness. So like this context of like, I only care about you if I can bang you is like, ugh. Mm-hmm. It's so very unfortunate of the Dynamite interpretation of who Ash is at this point in time.
It definitely feels like we kind of hope you haven't seen any of the Evil Dead or Army of Darkness movies.
If y'all haven't read the Xena crossover one,
I refuse.
Good Lord,
I'm okay.
It's like all the time. It's constant.
Wait, Bruce Campbell's in Xena.
There's a great panel of Black Widow eating a puppy, and I thought that was really funny.
Yeah,
just really full on. I thought that was great.
I kind of want to focus on like 3 things that I think are missed opportunities about this book, that are right there. And one of them is, I actually think it's a huge misstep to not have him encounter Stephen Strange and not get more pulled into crazy magic shit. And like that feels like an opportunity where Ash can actually put like all the sexism and that kind of stuff aside, where he can connect some of the things that he's been through in a actual tangible way. And because Doctor Doom is Doctor Doom, that's not a character he's going to be able to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to like speak evenly about magic with him.
Yeah.
Whereas with Strange, that could have been a banter scene.
Yeah.
There could have been something there. And I think that's a huge missed opportunity, actually, to have led up to the idea and then backed entirely away from it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that licensed comics really struggle with, in my opinion, is getting the character's voice correctly. I will always talk about how, like, if you get the character voice right, you're great. We talk about the Indiana Jones comics. Like, I don't think that, for the most part, those got Harrison Ford's voice right in the page. But I think John Layman is writing, not to belabor the point, this is kind of my final point I want to say about the characterization of Ash, I think. But like, I think John Layman is writing what the Cliff Notes version of Ash is. Yeah. Like, I read this character on Wikipedia, and this is how I think he should.
Who people think Ash is, not who he actually is.
Yeah, it's people who don't watch the movies or just, and don't think about them more on a surface, less than a surface level interpretation.
It's all the bits you quote. It's all the like those.
Give me some sugar.
Don't get me wrong. These things about Ash's character are in the text. This is part of who Ash is, but it's not all of who Ash is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like here it's just
he's significantly reduced as like a character with like pathos and depth. He's just like, I just love women.
Right.
Yeah.
Also,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's just kind of a bummer that like I've been wanting to pick this book for years. Let me tell you, like, this has been on my like Halloween like pick for a long time, to be like, this is the one I'm picking for next Halloween. Oh, next Halloween. And I kept thinking that like, this is a good one, right? This is a good one to read because it's Marvel Zombies. It's Ash. We all love Evil Dead. Well, 3 of us love Evil Dead. And like, I think to myself, like, I'm so bummed I ended up picking this now, because like, this is not how I wanted Ben. Ben's only like, this is not how I wanted Ben to experience Evil Dead.
I actually think it's great. I think he's going to go into it with even lower expectations,
and it'll be amazing.
And he'll be like, "Holy shit!"
When I finally sit down and watch Army of Darkness with you guys, I'll probably be like, "Oh man, that movie is great."
That movie is great.
Going back to like that concept of missed opportunities, I think that Ashley G. Williams you brought up, I think is a really great idea.
I thought they were going to do so much more.
Yes, I did too. I remember reading it and being kind of bummed once they presented the idea that I'm like, oh, I already get that this is the guy that died, and that's how we did the like cliffhanger. But notably, no other Army of Darkness comic event has had Ash meet another Ash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like that was such an incredibly missed opportunity. This Ash who grew up in a world of heroes, he could have had a lot more of that gumption that we're talking about. Seeing superheroes, and even if like you want to take the angle that they do of like him not liking the way that they run things or that kind of thing, it is from that mentality of like, I can be a hero, I can do it better. And like we could have had a lot more out of that. I would have liked him around for a whole issue.
I seriously thought
for Ash to have to kind of rub up against this idea of like heroicism from the perspective of Ash in a world full of superheroes.
Yeah.
Which is not something that this Ash is bringing because he didn't live there.
The second that the second Ash showed up, I was like, oh man, we're going to get two Ashes. He's going to teach this Ash to be like a hero and be a better person. Like, are they going to get like a stupid costume at the end because they're superheroes now? No, nothing interesting like that. They just do a fake out. And it took me, I had to reread that one of the sections because I thought our Ash got killed and it was the new Ash. But I was like, wait, but he has his robot hand. I thought it was the other guy. And it was kind of confusing for me for no really good reason. I should have just paid attention more. But the cheap out, the fake out was like, oh man, missed opportunity, 100%. Like I thought we were gonna get so much more with that guy.
Go ahead.
I want to say a missed opportunity as well about this that I had, because Ryan brought this up really well when I wrote this on this note, which is at the end of this book, it becomes Army of Darkness versus Marvel Zombies. The Necronomicon reanimates the dead.
This is we have the same other one. This was the other big missed opportunity I was going to talk about.
It's less than a page.
Yeah. I know, it's awful. It's so like, and it's such a cool moment. This one in particular, I remember bothering me when I read it all those years ago. Because I remember being like, oh, holy shit. Is Ash going to wield the Necronomicon to mess up some superhero zombies? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool idea of like how twisted it's like, yeah, well, in this world, we gotta be simpatico allies. Here we go.
I love he starts talking to the book and he's like, yo, they're gonna eat you, bro. Yeah, they're gonna eat you. And I'm like, okay, all right.
You have your pages are made from human flesh. You're written in human blood.
There's no more
humans. Eat you, bud.
They're gonna
eat you. And he's like,
wait, you're not serious. They wouldn't eat a book.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was again ready for like, oh man, we're gonna have a whole issue of zombies versus zombies. Hell yeah.
And especially because like we know that there are, although I guess like most of them were digested, but like that there were other heroes who didn't turn into zombies and could have been this part of this Deadite army or how.
Did I miss? I apologize. Did I miss? Did the Shield Helicarrier, did that get taken down too? With all the heroes that were left alive?
It's not even mentioned.
Well, you see Doctor Strange in the last panel, so it's implied that like that happened, but it didn't matter.
But they don't show it when they set up. This is where all the heroes are. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. That's silly.
Like I would have liked that. Maybe Ash is up there with them, with Nick Fury and Doctor Strange. That would have been cool. But like the thing is, the thing that's so interesting about the Evil Dead is that the Deadites are different than zombies.
Yes.
So like seeing these hero zombies go up against Deadites would be really interesting to see. But all we see is the initial like, oh, the dead are rising. Oh, well, they killed them.
This is why I was going to say, like, contextually, I'm like, even if some heroes like Xavier, who gets name dropped, like, had been digested, like, Deadite rules don't apply the same. Like, he could just be reconstituted. It should have been a bigger deal.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very basic the way that they interpret it, and disappointing.
And it's not like the heroes would lose. Like you have the Hulk zombie against a bunch of Deadites. Like the Hulk would win. But show the full cool fight.
Yeah, like I want to see some of the messed up Deadite.
Don't Moon Knight me and cut the action off right before it gets good. Don't be doing that.
Yeah. I want to see the Deadites pull their Deadite tricks through the bodies of some of Marvel's heroes against other zombie Marvel heroes, and the Marvel zombie heroes be thrown by it. And to be honest with you, I think that part of the problem with this is that this book wants to be in continuity, not just with the Dynamite,
but with
Army of Darkness
Marvel
comics, but also with the Marvel Zombies title itself.
Yeah.
So it's playing by which again, I think this goes back to the Helicarrier thing. I think they have to mention that, but not show it because that's in Marvel Zombies 1. And they can't put Ash there because obviously he's not in that book.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, is that they want to live in the continuity of both things, which means we can only go so big because we're living in the pockets between Marvel Zombies 1.
That's so weird.
Yes, it is. At the time, I really liked it. I thought it was a really cool thing because I'm like, damn, this Army of Darkness thing actually happened around the events and we were reading Marvel Zombies. I thought that was really exciting.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I see how limiting that is.
Yeah.
Because they were so restricted by what happened in that story.
That's why Spider-Man bails in the second issue.
Yes, exactly. Like he bails because that's what happens. Is that that's when he goes and he by the time he gets there, he's turned and he eats them. And that's what we know happens in Marvel Zombies. And so because it has to live in that same framework, I think that's a big mistake.
I think the opening is funny. How he falls into this universe and falls into the trash can. And we also get a flashback to how he got there, which is that Sentry in some heaven that he was in. Sentry punched him into this universe, which was kind of fun.
The Sentry zombie imagery is really good. Like for the moment that it's there, it's some scary shit.
He's in heaven eating dudes, and the angel's just like,
yeah,
that's all right. Yeah.
And then when he gets back there and they're like, what did he look like? And he's like, well, he looked like that guy. And the Sentry's got other Marvel heroes that he's messed up. It's like, oh God, they're so screwed.
It still doesn't give us an explanation of where the Sentry came from, but it kind of gives us a baseline for where he was just before he showed up in the Marvel Zombies universe, because he is in Marvel Zombies 1. It is explicitly stated that he's from a different universe.
Right.
Because the original intention was that he was supposed to be Superman before DC
maybe
was
he got killed off screen and then he got sent to heaven by accident.
Yeah. I think that is another one of the things that really hurts this book is like wanting to live in the continuity of both. And like realizing like as we were reading it that we knew the fates of everybody because we'd read Marvel Zombies. And so like we knew like the events can't be changed. It's not possible because Marvel Zombies exists, and this wants to live in that same purpose and universe exactly the same way, which is contextually that this is how all those people died. The ones that we get here, this is how they died in the Marvel Zombies universe. This is canon to that universe. This is when the Punisher, he got because of this. How Scarlet Witch got, Doctor Doom and Latveria falling. All that happens here.
Which I gotta tell you.
Neat, but like... What you could have done. What you could have done.
I gotta tell you, I don't love Bucky doing the "Give me some sugar, baby."
Oh God,
I did not care for that.
Bucky wouldn't say that.
I take some solace in some of it because I'm like, I know even contextually from like Marvel Zombies that like these they're very close, but they're not our true heroes. Like there are already things in Marvel Zombies that are like, I don't know. Right. That doesn't seem very Captain America. Like Spider-Man abandons Ash on a roof. Like I get that he's worried, but like it's a little bizarre.
Yeah.
He would usually take him. The Avengers in general rebuffing Ash. Like you guys haven't seen weirder shit. I don't understand why. Like I get Ash is but he's not even being his full asshole yet at that point. And they shut him down and laugh at him. And I'm like,
he did shoot their intercom.
He did shoot the intercom. That's
very rude.
Yeah. But
so
yeah, I don't. It's
also if like if one human shows up to your front door, do all the Avengers come outside every time?
Yes,
with a shotgun.
It's like, bro, one of you can handle this guy. Jarvis.
I mean, I think it is the shotgun thing that they're like, well, that's a little different.
Sure.
I did like.
Another person does that as the Punisher.
Yeah.
Ben has something to say, but I really quickly just want to say that I do like the bit where it's like, yeah, Captain America. It's Corporal America, Colonel America, Colonel America. Colonel America called all the reserve members in, so you see them all rushing to the mansion and then running back out of zombies.
I love that's smart.
Ben, you wanted to say something though? Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say about the whole shotgun bit. When one human shows up and all the Avengers show up, definitely got their attention. But one of my criticisms about the book, especially hearing you guys talk about how they're trying to keep it in the continuity line with the Marvel Zombies comic, the actual book itself, I feel like could have been a detriment, or it turned out to be a detriment to this book. And I was just totally fine with this being a one-off, one-shot, where it's like, hey, Marvel's like, you all know Marvel Zombies. Here's a new Marvel Zombies story, or a story involving the Marvel Zombies, but also Ash and Evil Dead. And I think that when we were talking about how there was like a lot of missed potential and how like they were trying to do too many things at once and they just didn't keep a storyline. To me, like when a book isn't inherently good, when as you're reading it you can think of better plot lines for it. It's like, oh, how come they didn't do this? How come they didn't do X, Y, and Z? That's where you know a book isn't I guess I don't want to call this book bad, but that's when you know it's like not the best it could be.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say it's bad. I think it's at worst fine. But it doesn't reach the heights that you feel like it should.
Yeah. And the problem for me is like, if you're going to like this is it's like the time travel thing. Like you bring someone from the past, not that it's a time travel, you bring someone from the past, it changes the world. The fact that Ash comes to here and the exact same events play out exactly the same is boring. That's boring. You could do a new timeline where like, oh, things are different. And they can even maybe like talk about that. Maybe Doctor Strange is in this book and he's like, yo, this feels weird. This shouldn't be going the way it should be. Something's wrong here. It's because of you, Ash.
This was the context of like, at the time they wanted the Marvel Zombies like was blossoming. They wanted it to be a universe, functionally a universe. And because Army of Darkness was so early in that period, rather than later.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if like the 5 or however many Marvel Zombie sequels there were, if a lot of them had come out and then they did this, they might have gone back to the beginning and changed it.
Yeah.
But because it's coming out just after that first one, they're like, no, we gotta, we're crafting a universe. He's ending up specifically in this universe.
Yeah.
Not a different version of the Marvel Zombies universe, the Marvel Zombies universe.
Yeah. You just didn't see him in that last book. That's all.
Right.
He was
What's so interesting about what you guys are saying is, these kind of crossovers. Marvel used to cross over with a lot of different companies pretty frequently in the early 2000s, late 90s. And they don't really anymore. And I feel like you look at like what DC does, because DC will cross over with Boom Studios, with IDW, blah, blah, blah. And every single time they do, it's not the same universe. Like the upcoming Godzilla versus Kong versus Justice League is not the main DC universe. It's an adjacent one where Godzilla and Kong, because that's going to change the universe. Like,
right.
That's gonna happen. That's gonna change the universe. So you don't want to be beholden by the rules of what that universe is. Whatever crossover they got coming up, they don't want to mess up. So Justice League versus Power Rangers, Justice League, Batman, TMNT, like all these titles are adjacent to. And so it's a misstep, in my opinion. I think we're all in agreement of it, that to not just make this Marvel Zombies versus the Army of Darkness and then have a story, have an adjacent Marvel Zombies universe be affected by Ash Williams being in this universe.
When I hear Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness, I expected way more Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
This is just Ash is in the Marvel Zombie universe. Because again, like the zombies that we get are the deaths that we get are like a panel. And I think again, Ben, like I know you haven't seen all the Evil Dead movies, but like you've seen that like they're not just humanoid; they turn into monsters. You've seen Evil Dead Rise. There's a giant monster at the end of that movie. The first Evil Dead has a giant a snake man. Like they could turn into other things. They're not just like lame zombies. And they're stronger than zombies because they can get decapitated and torn apart and they're still alive. So like it just felt like, wow, we can't make them that powerful though.
Well,
and they're crazy.
And they're all like connected to the like the force of the Necronomicon and like the Deadite force and essence. And so like there's so much more that could have been thrown at these superheroes. And again, I do think it's just because they're trapped by the continuity, they can't.
It's all
and I think it was this fear that like because it was the first thing they were putting out post the initial Marvel of Zombies thing, that if they changed it, they could never go back. To like continuing,
because people would be like, oh, where's Ash? Or something.
Or like they would expect new rather than like continuous, and they wanted continuous. They wanted a brand.
Something I did really like about the book, which because there is something, is the Necronomicon itself. When Ash finds the Necronomicon in Doom's library, and he has a kind of a rapport with the Necronomicon. There's about 2 or 3 scenes with them. I really like that stuff. I think that stuff is well written. It's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. I like the kind of like the Necronomicon being like, "Oh, it's you. What the hell are you doing here?" And Ash being like, "Okay, now fix this." And he's like, "I didn't do this. This wasn't me."
I think that's my favorite thing about this book. Honestly, is the idea that the Necronomicon wanted to put Ash somewhere where
he would suffer,
where he couldn't win because it actually had nothing to do with them. And that was the goal, is that like you'll lose here because you can't. This isn't even the thing.
It's not about me.
To fight.
Yeah.
This is a totally different thing. I can't even stop it if I wanted to. It's an undead force. I don't do undead.
That ain't me. Call the other guy.
Yeah, I think that's the most genius thing in this book is Ash learning, so convinced that he's facing the same thing he's faced over and over again.
Yeah.
And then learning that he's wrong. And they along the way having tragically given other characters hope that it can be changed.
Yeah.
If they just get this book. And like the reality is no.
Yeah.
I just wish it baked on that more. But like it's a really good turn and a really good place to put Ash in. Also, I love Ash in a Doom suit.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
very good.
I love Dr. Doom. I think he's written like 50% really well here. The thing about Dr. Doom is like he doesn't talk casual. He's not someone who just talks like we do. And sometimes during this, I felt like he was just talking like a dude. And I'm like, that does not sound like Dr. Doom. And sometimes he's very big and Shakespearean. And like, there is that in this too. But then also you feel like sometimes he's just like talking like a dude. And I'm like, that's fine. It's okay. I did love Doom. I did love Ash Doom. That's great. Doombot stuff. I just like Latveria, Dr. Doom still being the person he's like, oh yeah, I'm rescuing all these people by putting them in my dungeons. And I'm like, that's Dr. Doom.
I was selective about who I chose.
Yeah, all the perfectly breedable people.
But I also really like, and this is like, again, contextually to the Marvel Zombies continuity, I really like that Dr. Doom goes out saving the last people that he possibly can. And he's like randomly sending them to universes. And he's like, this is all I can do for them. And then I'm destroying the machine and it's done.
He is a hero.
Yeah, I did like that too. I like that when they're like, I thought when they found out the castle was impenetrable, they would leave. And it's like, what about the countryside? But then it's like, sir, they've eaten everything. This is all that's left.
Yeah.
I really like that. Again, like I do like that he helps the people leave this universe. He does save them in the end. Which is a nice touch. And then he even saves Ash, and Ash is like, all right, let's go. And the Necronomicon's like, yeah, let's go. And it's like, Ash is like, no. Just toss the Necronomicon.
I'm not, sorry, bro. I lied.
And the Necronomicon gets to a fate worse than being eaten by by the zombies. Not its own zombies. It's like, it's going to be used as toilet paper.
Oh, toilet paper. That's right.
Yeah.
Fate worse than death.
What I'm about to give you is one of those times where I'm like, that's authentic Ash. Even though it's not Ash talking, it's Doom talking about Ash. Where he says, Miss Maximoff, kindly inform your associate that I am the absolute monarch and lord of Latveria, and if he addresses me again as Yo 3PO, Hey Tin Man, or Domo Arigato Mr. Roboto, I will remove his head from his body. Which is very much exactly how Ash would talk to Dr. Doom. Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of shit, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I think Doom also looks great.
Yeah.
Throughout this comic, I think he's just drawn really well. They clearly put a lot of passion into Doom, and I think he looks really good most of the time.
I agree. I love him.
Like just some really incredible shots of him. I think the way they put him in the art really, really stands out. It's a small gripe, but I'm going to mention it. I really like the shtick where Mystique tricks Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm.
As a zombie and thinking he's saving Wanda.
100%.
I also like that Enchantress does the same thing to Ash, but I kind of wish both didn't happen in the book. Yeah, kind of wish we picked one. And I think the Ash one's probably more relevant and works better.
Yeah, the Immoral one works real well.
One thing I will also say, I'll say a nice thing about the book is I like how they explain how the contagion spread, because they're like on the helicarrier is like, okay, it's only in New York City, we can contain it. They're talking about acceptable losses. I'm thinking they're probably gonna like bomb the city or something. And then once Quicksilver gets bitten, it's all over.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Ben. Like there is something in like the narrative boxes are saying that like there was a moment where this was containable, and then Quicksilver got hit, and it was all over. There was no way that this could ever be contained once he was hit.
Then it was over. Yeah, I thought that was really good. There's a very excellent one-page joke about the blob running in the background from zombies. Oh no.
rumble.
Oh no. Yeah.
That's good.
Very, very funny. Really, really, really good. I like that even for a moment Ash and the Punisher seem like they're gonna connect.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I do like that Punisher scene. where he goes to confront Kingpin or whatever. And he's like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Frank, we're on the same
I've got
side
it.
now. The world's ended. And he's like, bro, you think I
I've got
care?
it. This is one of my favorite like well-written lines
Yeah.
in the book is Fisk saying, we're in this together now, us versus them, human versus zombie. He says, Punisher says, I don't think so, Fisk. As far as I'm concerned, you were never human. And blasts the shit
This
out
reminds
of him.
me so much at the end of Secret Wars when the world's about to end and the Punisher's final mission is, I'm going to go kill everybody who's bad still, even though I'm about to die. And the final page of his book, it's him killing all the criminals and then the world ends. And I'm like, yeah, Punisher, you got a motive. Yeah. God, Punisher's cool.
Another very good, very Evil Dead, very Ash bit is when he's in the library of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and he grabs another talking book, and he says, I need to know where it is pronto, and you're going to tell me. And the book is like, get back, flashbang, and he says wrong answer, and immediately tosses
Just
in
yeets him
the
into the fire.
and goes looking for another book, only for that another one to pop out and be like, whoa, okay, it's fine.
Yeah. I like that too. I thought that was
very Evil Dead.
Yeah.
That was very Army of Darkness.
And again, kind of something I wish Doctor Strange was there for to watch him do.
Mm-hmm.
Just for Doctor Strange to be like, that was actually an incredibly important book.
Yeah.
Who was the guy who was eating Wong, the sorcerer that was in the Sanctum Sanctorum?
Dr. Druid.
Druid.
Dr. Druid.
I do kind of like the bit where he's just like, oh, you can save this, and Ash is like, yeah, just tell me where the library is. It's over there, and he blows his face off. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah. And I think that's fine because Ash doesn't have apathy for anyone who's turned into a Deadite. He's learned not to care because he's been tricked too many times.
Yeah. And
that's fine. Ash does not need to show empathy for people who have been turned into the dead. Granted, like here, they're zombies and he still thinks they're Deadites, but whatever. That's a totally fine level of apathy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that the ladies didn't react to that whatsoever when he did it, but they didn't. But it's the apathy for the people who are living that's like problematic for Ash.
I really wanted to like the team up of Dazzler and Scarlet Witch and Ash because I think it's kind of a fun dynamic. Dazzler and Scarlet Witch, two characters I quite like, and seeing them work together, being the only two survivors, trying to prevent this. But it sucks because it feels like the only reason why they're in the book is because they're the two most likely to have Ash be attracted to them. And like, that's the only reason why it's them. There's really no other reason than that. There's nothing about their powers that sets them apart in this book. There's nothing about what they do in the story that makes it important that it's them. It's just that they're meant to be eye candy.
Like the characterization for these two characters, like there is none. Like this does not sound like Dazzler or Scarlet Witch. No. Also, Scarlet Witch is like one of the most powerful people in the universe. She can do something about this. She can do a little more than just being Ash's friend. She can rewrite reality itself. Well,
this is another one of my issues, which is just that none of the living heroes really seem to use their power sets at all.
No. Scarlet Witch should be rewriting these. Dude, she could take out that whole army. Like we see like if you're just going off even the movies, like the little she does, she can like tear shit up. She can take Thanos down. She can throw people in the air. Like she can do shit.
Yeah.
Does she even use her powers in this book? I remember.
I think literally like 2 times, but it's like very small.
It's just like a boom. Dazzler can manipulate light and sound and energy. Doesn't do that.
She kills Howard the Duck by turning him into glass.
That's true. Thank you. Yeah. Oh my God. She could do that to the entire army like it's no big deal. Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's the thing is like it doesn't take into consideration the characters that it wants to utilize that are next to Ash. Like, what can they do though? Like, what would they do? What would their powers allow them to do? Why would that be like you can structure a scene that requires like Dazzler's going to be a person who stands out and give her moment, but it's not about that because like in very Dynamite Comics fashion, it's about Ash. And like it can only be about Ash at the end of the day.
And when Dazzler gets bit, when Dazzler's fingers get bit, that was the time where I was like, really?
It's also bizarre because again, going back to that whole like this is Marvel Zombies continuity too, and that they keep it in that continuity too. Is that
show?
I did want to get to that, but I will in a moment.
Yeah.
Is that they make everybody in Marvel Zombies world look like chumps?
Yeah.
Like now the continuity is like, well, I don't know. Everyone seemed kind of either bad at what they do or not a good person really to begin with.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. Is it a problem that the Marvel Zombies thing happened, which is not the angle that Marvel Zombies has prior to that.
Yeah. Kirkman wrote the first Marvel Zombies, and it's a really good book. Honestly, I still think it's a good book.
It's solid.
One of the things that was really interesting about that book is how these heroes have been changed, and what does it do to their psyche, and how some of them use their power, some of them don't. There's a lot of stuff, and it continues on. The Marvel Zombies books that I've read, which are not all of them, mind you. I think I read 2, maybe I never read 3, but whatever. So they use their powers, and they use their abilities, and they use their knowledge. They use the characterizations that we know them for. So it's really strange to read this book, have none of the Marvel Zombies, none of the zombies use any of their abilities, have any of their personalities connected, and even have the survivors, with the exception of Doctor Doom. So Scarlet Witch and Dazzler, they use their powers, but never in any meaningful way. It doesn't matter that it's them that are in this story. It matters that it's Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom needs to be in the story, but it never matters that it's Scarlet Witch and Dazzler, other than those are the 2 characters that Ash would find hot.
The 2 specifically putting together Doctor Doom and Scarlet Witch, and we've read the Young Avengers stuff, and they have decades long history together, and there's one line of, Wanda, you're always welcome in my house, and that's all we get from them. They could be working together to try to figure this out. There's so much more that this book can do, but it's tied to the first book. It can't do anything.
There's honestly a much better take that could have happened here, and not to pontificate, rewrite the book and everything, but very early on, Ash has an encounter with the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If Ash's only allies through this story were the Wrecking Crew,
that'd be dope.
Who are much more down on his level,
yeah,
and they happen to get through so many things because Ash is also just kind of surrounded by good luck.
Yeah.
Despite all the shit that'll happen to him, he'll almost always make it out. And so sometimes that benefits the people around him because it's that chosen one status thing, and whatever. That's how it is. That's how it's written.
He's got Domino's luck power.
Damn. That would be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool.
But if it's the Wrecking Crew, they're lower tier characters.
Yeah.
You really don't know what happens to them in the context of larger Marvel Zombies. So it wouldn't matter where you put them or how you use them.
Yeah.
And they're more on Ash's level. So it's all people he can interact with. Now they won't do that because those are all guys. And they need a girl. They need a girl to be with Ash. And I'm I don't know. We could have found a girl who could have fit into that crew and made something actually work about this.
Yeah. The Thunderball thing, I
Domino.
like the
Domino. Sure.
I'm really upset that we didn't see Domino.
Yeah, Domino's the coolest. The Thunderball stuff I really like, and I thought we were going to get more of it. He would be a returning character, but no.
Because especially Ash, when he enters the world, he's that guy's a good guy.
That's a devil. That's a devil man.
That's the devil man fighting him. Yeah. I bet I know which one's the good guy.
A construction worker? He's about labor.
Should be pretty obvious. And if that was his mentality, and he's grouped up with these guys and they're criminals, but they're all just trying to live now. And they're all kind of screw ups.
Yeah.
And so is Ash. And so there's a relatability of how they survive this. Can you imagine Ash and the Wrecking Crew and one other female character of some kind ending up in Latveria with Doom? And what are we gonna do?
All these construction
all
workers.
they have is now the Necronomicon, because
that's at least a more fun. That's at least a more fun story.
With the enchanted adamantium crowbar, and he's I'm in Latveria fighting zombies with Doctor Doom. What's going on?
You're gonna do some wild shit where one of them turns out to be worthy and gets Mjolnir.
Yeah. Now we're writing just a way better book.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but you need sorry, just real quick. If you're not going to utilize those heroes that you're putting around them, if you're not going to make it matter that they're there, then bring in people who are more on Ash's level, who are able to kind of go through it the exact same way that he would. They're minorly more familiar, but they're still nowhere near the big leagues, and so they're all just overwhelmed in the midst of this.
I'm just in this hypothetical new book that we've written. Then you have at the end of this book be Ash wielding the Necronomicon with an army of Deadites behind him fighting the Marvel Zombies. That's something. Again, this book kind of, because it's so beholden to both the Dynamite and the Marvel Zombies continuity, it just ends up being really nothing. It doesn't impact the Marvel Zombies universe really. I'm sure it does impact the Dynamite universe, but there's nothing here that impacts the Marvel Zombies universe whatsoever.
Literally, as all Dynamite Army of Darkness comics, only in the matter of getting him from point A to point B. Again, he'll pick up where he left off, and he'll go to the next world, and that's it. There's no there's no context of growth. That at a certain point, they got deep enough into like 10 events of those kinds of things, of 5-issue things, where they were like, okay, but I mean, like, it hasn't like changed you as a person, but we can at least acknowledge the amount of things you fought.
Sure.
So like at one point he does mention the superheroes, like again down the road, not by name or anything, just superheroes.
Yeah.
Because he did that, and so it's like, yeah, that's there, but like, what does it mean? Nothing.
Yeah.
I did want to, as Ryan saw, I did want to point out, it's a really good page, very, very Army of Darkness humor. Where Next Wave shows up to save them from the children that are attacking.
Elsa.
And it has the little text on it where it says, "You just witnessed a purely superfluous cameo featuring Next Wave, 5 pirate superheroes who get ruthlessly dispatched off panel mere moments from now in the most humiliating and degrading ways imaginable." And like, that's it. That's all you get. And then you leave them behind. And I'm like,
I love that.
That's so dark and twisted.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Well, I don't have much else to add to this. Whatever this was. Oh, why don't we, unless anyone has anything more to say, why don't we move on?
I think just a general sense, like, it's a lot of very small fun things.
Yeah.
That amount to something that's like sci-fi B-movie, like schlocky. Okay, which I wouldn't put Army of Darkness the movie in, but like it's just kind of like, yeah, it's there, it's fine, it's fun. Like you get your recognizable, like, haha, yeah, all right, cool, little bits, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Well,
I did like how sinisterly, real quick, I did one last thing. Beast is sinister as shit.
Oh, yes.
In his one moment against Doom, I thought that was real good.
Oh yeah, and he's like, I didn't have Xavier, but I got another brain. I got another big brain, and it's Reed. And he's like, no.
And one more. This is also, again, this is good writing. Is when they're in the werewolf world at the end, and Wolverine's like, "Good news, fellas," and they're like, "No, duh, Wolverine."
Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine. You think you're the only one here with heightened animal senses? We can all smell fresh meat, and we all know what that means.
Now, was that a virus that turned them all into werewolves, or were they already werewolves that are being turned into zombies?
It's so bizarre that they're like, we can't. That's a good question, Brandon. I think they're just all werewolves. Yeah, they're werewolves that just like to eat people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Contextually, that happens sometimes with werewolves.
Sure.
It's really funny to me that Marvel's like, no, we can't make another zombie parallel world. Like, we have to stay true to the continuity of the one we've made. But we'll make a werewolf world that we'll never see again. We'll make a werewolf world. That's fine.
Where did I was looking stuff up about this book. Werewolf Spider-Man from the end of this book is in Into the Spider-Verse, or whatever the newest movie was. He's one of the characters in the back.
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's cool.
Werewolf Spider-Man's in it. They got everything.
All right, well, Sparks.
Yes.
It's your turn next time, I believe.
All you got is me thinking about if Robert Kirkman had written this, and I'm just so sad now.
Probably a better book.
He was writing a better zombie book at this point.
Yeah, it's true.
At this point.
I have a pretty good idea that
Is it spooky?
I will let you know if I'm gonna change it, but I don't think I am.
Is it spooky?
It's Halloween themed.
Well, that's what I want.
So it's Halloween, by Moss Lawton. It's a single graphic novel.
Right.
Not going to be too tough of a read for you guys.
Is it based on the band?
No.
Dang. All right. Well, that'll do it, guys. That's Fake Nerd Book Club for Marvel Zombies vs. Army of Darkness. Next time will be Halloween, as Sparks said. Sparks' pick. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to subscribe to any podcatcher of choice. Rate and review us. You can, of course, check out Fake Nerd. What's that?
The Power Pack. The evil Power Pack. It's like, oh my god, the children. And like, the children are in danger? No, the children are the danger. Like,
yeah. Okay.
Check out Fake Nerd Podcasts for all the updates on all the shows as the strikes are ongoing. AMPTP are a bunch of greedy assholes, as we all know this. So check out our website for all the updates on what you can find and what you can't find. Of course, you can also check out on that same website our TeePublic and our Patreon if you'd like to support us financially. That is also linked below, as well as our website, which is linked below. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all on social medias, which is Fake Nerd Podcast. I'm at BT McLaren on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for AtomicGeekdom.com. That's where you can find my stuff there. Ben, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me scouring a library for books that don't bite at BenMagna27 on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. And you can also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, GoNintendo.com. And at the time of this recording, our newest episode of D and Dark, where I play Mary Frankenstein, is now up. We're continuing the season, and stuff's going bad.
Sparks?
You can find me just dreaming up a better version of this crossover. That's Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
Ryan?
You can find me not dying by dawn. Dead by dawn. Isn't that what they say? Dead by dawn?
Dead by dawn.
Dead by dawn.
I'm just making sure. At DJ Tony Snark. I love Evil Dead.
I will say, because Brandon and I both remember really enjoying this when we read it, maybe they just know their audience. Teen boys.
Yeah, I'll say teen boys.
Maybe they just knew their audience.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to try harder than that. To their credit, like, loved it when I read it when it came out. So I don't know what to tell you.
I probably was the audience for it.
I'm older, I'm wiser.
I would be in high school.
I have a different perspective.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That'll do it. So like this video, subscribe to this channel. Until next time we see us, guys, stay fake nerds.